Today I will do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a simple DIY build for a glue pot to use with contact cement for leather crafting. Glue pots are a great tool as they allow you to use a brush rather than an applicator, which makes gluing a lot faster and more convenient. So why would I make something that you can already buy? And there are a few answers to that. Apart from issues with access to vendors, there is a huge benefit to making your own tools, which is customization. This allows you to get the tool that you want, rather than a one-size-fits-all. So let's get to building. The first and probably hardest step is to select your materials, the most important of which is the brush, and this is where you get your biggest customization. For me, I'm looking at something a bit smaller and more delicate than what normally comes with glue pots. So I chose this artist brush. The brush tip is quite narrow at 10mm and very thin. This should give me some really accurate gluing for small projects. Next is the container, and it needs to have an airtight seal on the lid, and ideally it should be short and wide so you can be able to store more glue and also be more stable on your bench. This is what container I was able to find, which should be okay for my purpose, as I don't use a lot of glue for small projects. The other important factor is the size of the lid. Ideally, it should be as small as possible, as it makes it easier to use. Finally, you will need a way to secure the brush and give you an airtight seal. I'm going to be using this Epoxy putty, as it doubles as an adhesive and also as a support to secure the brush. I want the brush to sit off the bottom of the jar around 10mm, which puts us at this point here. So we'll use that line as our marker. And next thing, I want the brush to extend past the jar so I can hold on to the brush. So we should be looking around here. 200mm here. Now I'm going to cut this brush to 200mm and then we'll move on to working on the lid. The brush is now ready to go. Now let's work on the lid. Now we're going to need to mark a center hole for drilling the lid here. So I'll use my dividers to do this. And just at the center of those 3 marks, we'll drill our hole. I will use a drill bit that is slightly smaller than the brush, so we can get a tight fit on the lid. We have drilled our hole in the lid. Now I'm going to mark a guide circle to help for sanding. Okay, now I'm going to sand within this guide ring. Now we are ready to begin assembling. So the first step is to get the brush into the correct position. Because it's firm, we can push it until it's tight. Okay, next is the epoxy putty. Okay, so we'll cut off a section. Now it's time to knead this epoxy putty until it's all uniform. So I want to use this sanding circle as a guide. So that's it for the putty. Just need to make sure there's no alignment issues. And then we'll let this set for 1 hour for the epoxy to harden. The epoxy is now very hard and ready to go. I did a quick cleanup and painting on the end to make it look a little bit nicer. Now I will fill the glue pot with this contact cement from Bondtech. I like it because it's completely clear. I would say this brand is not too different from other brands, and most contact cements will achieve the same results. I will put something to help stop the lid from seizing. Most people would use petroleum jelly, but as I don't have any, I'll be using some Aussie leather conditioner instead. This will make sure that the lid is always easy to unscrew. Now we are ready for a test. I'm going to mark a narrow 3mm gluing line on this piece of vegetable tan. So that worked quite well, and I got some nice accurate gluing all in one pass. Now to wrap up. Applying glue with a brush is a lot more convenient than an applicator, as it holds a lot more glue and you don't have to clean it every time you use it. The best part of customization is that you can have multiple glue pots with different brush sizes. This means you could have a fine brush for the delicate jobs and a much larger brush for the big projects. I would recommend a container that is of a larger diameter, so you don't need to refill as often. And if possible, a smaller diameter lid would also help get less in the way. Thank you all for watching. If you found the content helpful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.